What is up, guys? You got Not the Worst here, bringing another Black Desert online video, and today we are taking a look at good old Blood Wolves. Now, we've been here a few times in the past. I recently did, somewhat recent, I guess it was probably a couple months ago now, did an elite rotation, 20-hour grind breakdown. I think I did 15 hours or something here in the last changes to this, or excuse me, that was for just the elite rotation. Since then, they have made some changes to this spot. It was a few weeks back in the patch notes, and I wanted to see how it impacted the overall loot in Blood Wolves, since I've covered this spot fairly extensively in the past. So anyways, what did they do? Well, they claim to have decreased the number of Dregan male, female goats, the little goats that were inside the little cage things, which were raised by the Cagtum, kind of irrelevant, honestly. Decreased the number of Blood Wolves, the actual little red Blood Wolves, which I'll show you in a second, and then increased the number of Cagtum Warden and Cagtum Chasers. So what this should have done is, because Blood Wolves actually has different types of trash loot that would come off the little Blood Wolves that die much easier than these guys, it's worth a lot less than this spot is, or excuse me, than the trash loot from these guys is. So it should increase the overall value of trash loot that you're getting with those changes put in. Then in addition to that, increase the chance of getting the following loot item from defeating Cagtum guards who appear occasionally when you rescue 3 or more Cagtum prisoners. And you can see the bonus drops there: 50% on the Kegtuna Akum armor, both crystals, 900% increase on Garmoth scale, 100% to Cagtum ring, 50% to Kaphras stone, 25% to Spirit dust. This was already pretty high. It's like almost guaranteed now. And 25% on Dragon Scale Fossil, which was already pretty high on those mobs. So it's almost guaranteed now as well. So after seeing that, I was like, all right, cool. Let's run a few hours. Obviously don't want to do a ton in the same spot that I've covered, over and over and over again. First thing is, as far as looking at the spot, what they changed, I see some, but not a ton. So these are your good mobs. These are your elites, and then these are the Blood Wolves that they were talking about. I'm not going to go through the whole rotation just because I've covered this spot before. If you guys want to see it, there's a link to the playlist for the silver breakdowns, so you can just jump in to that playlist there and then find the previous Blood Wolf guides if you want to see that. So aside from that, what I mostly noticed that in here used to be these little goats they're talking about. They just removed them, which kind of did nothing. Added like a mob, and then this one they did add a couple of mobs, regular mobs here with a few Blood Wolves out, and then like I think here, and then maybe a couple more here, and that was pretty much it for the most part on this rotation. I didn't see a huge change in the actual mobs that were there. Now, that being said, I did see a huge change in the amount of trash loot that I was getting from this spot, which was kind of interesting because it didn't feel like it coincided. This one actually did have a couple extra mobs too. I don't believe these two guys were here before. But at any rate, yeah, I was surprised at the trash loot difference that I was getting once I kind of got a good feel for it compared to before, because I just didn't visually see the differences for that. So let me log out here so I don't get killed by some mobs and pull up the loot sheet here so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's blow that up a little bit. Okay, so these 17 hours, these were the last the elite video that we did. So starting with the starred one here, this was with the new drop rate on it overall. So let me just make sure we have these in frame. So this was the first hour. I just did 6 of them on it. I ended up making a total of almost exactly 600 mil, 602 mil across the board for it. But what was interesting, like I said, was the trash loot. These first 2 hours I actually did on stream. You can hop over to the Twitch page and check out the VOD if you want to see me doing that for it. Thing with when I stream grinding hours, which I don't do a whole lot, because 1, there's chat interaction is going to slow me down, and 2, my FPS is a little bit lower. So anytime I grind on stream, it's always a lot lower than what I'm supposed to get. But once I had done these 2 hours and kind of saw, I was like, man, we're pushing almost 14k already, when I was doing, in the 12s. I think I did 13 once before the changes there. I was like, man, this is actually pretty good if I'm doing this on stream. So then went off stream, kind of went around with it, did a 14.4, and then after I kind of got a good feel for it, it's definitely over 15. I was almost right in the same zone. 15, 254, 250, and then 279 on the last hour that I was there for it. This is with loot scroll throughout all of these, so keep that in mind. This isn't without loot scroll. But seeing these trash numbers, I was like, man, okay, this is not half bad. You can also see some kind of crazy spikes with things. Garmoth scales, this is 100% impacted by the number of times I was getting Cagtum guards to spawn. Those rare spawns coming up, they do indeed have a crazy good drop rate on these things, being 900% increase. It should. There were still some hours that were even lower than, ones that I'd had before the update, because, RNG and RNG. is how it goes. But the other thing I want to point out, the percentage of those increases that they're talking about, just so that everyone's on the same page with it. When you have something that says like Cagtum Ring is increased by 100%, that doesn't mean that, you know, that it's necessarily a drastic increase. If the Cagtum Ring drop rate off those mobs was previously 2%, a 100% increase means it's now 4%. So for an item that was, let's say, Whom's, which it's probably less than 1%, but let's just say it was 1% to start with, a 50% increase means it went from a 1% drop rate off those mobs to a 1.5% drop rate increase. It's not necessarily huge. Obviously, it is a 50% increase, but that percent doesn't mean you're going to be killing these mobs and like, oh man, look at all these Whom's I'm swimming in. It just doesn't work that way because of how the drop rates were finagled previously. So overall, like I said, we did about 600 mil in the 6 hours that I put there with Loot Scroll. Really happy with these trash numbers. What was interesting, I did get an Eye of the Ruins ring drop in that time, which those are, oh, that's Skirvish. I did get one. It was not there. It's right there. I got one in my second hour, I guess. So that was on stream then when we did that. The interesting thing was that my rare drops were actually kind of worse than the last time I was here doing an elite rotation. This was most likely due to the fact that I wasn't doing an elite rotation. I was staying on one server and just grinding it straight. So the peaks that you normally see from an elite rotation, getting things like you know, a duo ring that dropped here, or like I was getting a lot of Cagtum rings here, was because this was off of an elite rotation. So what that ended up doing is I averaged in those 17 hours previously running an elite rotation, I did 106 mil just staying on the same server, and this was only 6 hours. So it's not like this is definitive like most of the silver breakdowns are, but in those 6 hours, you know, you average out 103 mil. The other thing too is that this number used to be a lot higher because a lot of the items in these sheets are now worth a lot less than the months ago when we did these grinds. So I did adjust the numbers that were calculated for the price of them. For instance, I think eye rings were like 65 mil the last time I was here, and now they're only worth like 45 mil now. So there's obviously a big price hit on things like that, and that was kind of across the board. Garmoth scales are a little bit volatile to kind of factor right now. Sometimes they're you know, they take a little bit to sell right off the marketplace, especially with how black magic crystals have increased in price. It kind of changes the circulation of upgrading other crystals or rolling crystals. So Garmoth scales aren't quite going out like you normally expect them to. They did have a price increase just before this went out. I did not take that into account, and that is likely due to the infinite potion that is released on the KR servers and coming to our server soon. It does require 30 Garmoth scales to create it once you have the pieces for that infinite potion. So it's likely when that is announced on our servers, you'll see another big price increase on Garmoth scales. So wouldn't be a terrible idea to maybe hang on to them and try and sell them when people try to stock up on those if they go up. But yeah, other than that, it wasn't a ton of price fluctuation while I was doing it. Again, it was only 6 hours, wasn't a ton in depth. Just wanted to kind of get a baseline for it. But yeah, I think with these trash loot numbers being a lot higher, obviously the Blood Wolves are, the trash loot drop rate for the Blood Wolves that were changed is a lot more noticeable than what I was visually seeing. I mean, the numbers just speak for themselves with that trash loot coming through. And even if you take, this is from non-elite rotations with loot scrolls down here, it was still it's still in the 12s, 13s, and that sort of thing. So it's not just because of the elite rotation that these trash loot is much higher than it was. So overall, a positive change. I don't know that it necessarily had to have it, but this place has always been a bit of a gem as far as grind zones. It's not super intensive for AP requirements or anything like that, and has a pretty decent payout overall. And now it's just a little bit better. So yeah, that's it for this one. If you did enjoy it, be sure to like the video. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you get notifications when new videos do go live. And if you want to catch me playing live, you can head on over to the Twitch page. There's a link in the description below. Drop a follow over there so you get notifications for when the live streams are up, and you can also check out the VODs if you want to see me doing some of these hour grinds on stream. I do them from time to time, and not just necessarily Blood Wolves. A lot of the guys that are familiar with the stream will come in, so they already know what the next grind video coming up is, because I'll do a couple of hours on stream just to kind of show rotations and that sort of thing. Anyways, that's going to be it for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time. All right, we'll add one in 1 minute. Oh, those were +4. Nice. That'll get us like an extra 100k silver. Distortion on my second pack today. Stars in. Hey, I got an Eye of Ruins ring on that pack. I forgot that even dropped here. Dragon Slayer uses main hand counters. Interesting. Alright,